The stories, scenarios, and conversations shared on Work Comp Over Wine are for educational and entertainment purposes only. All identifying details have been changed to protect the privacy of individuals, employers, providers, and organizations. Any resemblance to real people or cases is purely coincidental. Nothing discussed in this podcast should be taken as legal, medical, or professional advice. We're here to share experiences, insights, and a little wine-fueled wisdom, responsibly and anonymously.
Hi, Patricia. How are you doing?
Sarah, I'm so good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm just so good. Just
Good.
happy to be here. And we're continuing our guest series today on Work Comp Over Wine. We're very excited. Today's guest is someone who is kind of a powerhouse. No big deal.
Love that word.
No big deal. We're going to be joined by Miss Shari Starkey. She is the Senior Vice President of Claims at CorVel. But that is not all. She is a leadership coach. She's a speaker, and she's actually the founder of Starkey Leadership. And she spent years doing so many wonderful things. She does large claims. She builds high-performing teams. She helps people grow professionally, but also personally. And she's just so unique in all the world. And I want to say this right, do it justice, because she does work in something very specific called NeuroLeadership, where she blends neuroscience and real world leadership. Try to say that 5 times fast. But she helps people understand how stress, change, connection, and mindset really impact the way that we lead ourselves and our team, right?
Yes, this was such a great conversation because, and I'll be fully transparent. I've known Shari for years, and she's been a mentor to me over those years, and I find there's such a special place in my heart for her. Honestly, after talking with her, it's easy to understand why her message resonates with people because she's very genuine, thoughtful. She's insightful. She's one of the, I would say, leaders in our industry who genuinely want to see other people succeed, right?
Yeah.
Not about her, it's about us. So this conversation goes way beyond workers' comp and leadership. It just basically investing in yourself so that you can show up for others across the board. So I think whether people are leading a team or building a business or just navigating life or just trying to be a better version of themselves, there's something for you in this conversation. So we encourage you to grab a glass of wine and enjoy our conversation with Shari Starkey.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shari, for coming on today to Work Comp Over Wine. We like to just have casual conversations, and a lot of times it does have to do with work comp, and sometimes we go off and talk about tennis or swimming. But because we're going to pour out thoughts and ideas, we like to start with what we're pouring into our glass. And depending on where you are in the world and what time it is, I'll start. I'm having a French beer called La Croix, and it's coconut flavor, but it is in a wine glass. So good morning.
Good morning. I am here in Denver, Colorado, and it is 7 a.m. and I didn't even try to hide the coffee. It is truly coffee in the coffee cup this morning.
Sarah, what about you?
I said to her earlier, I'm having the knockoff French La Croix. It's a lemonade, but I'm also having it in a wine glass in spirit.
So where do you get the knockoff? Is it like an Aldi's brand or Costco?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. It was on sale. If it's sparkling water, I'm going to drink it.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. And thank you for having me, by the way. I really appreciate being here. We've known each other for a very long time. I think we were babies when we started, and I've just always admired your passion and your entrepreneurial spirit in what you're doing. So I'm glad we're here today.
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words, because we could just set up this entire chat about the mutual admiration society we have for each other. Shari's always been a mentor to me in this industry, and I'm glad that I've grown to know her more, not only as a professional, but as a person.
Yeah. I think we went hiking once and I almost got bit by a rattlesnake.
I do remember that.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
you were so brave. You were so brave.
I won the long jump that day, by the way. So for sure.
See, you just moved like an athlete all the time.
Oh, that was so graceful. If that would have been videoed, that would have been a fun one.
It's in our minds. It's in our memories. And Shari, you know, with when we talk about our stories together and our history together, you've come to have such a unique perspective, I think, with work comp, and that's why we're so excited to have you on, because you bring wisdom and experience that we haven't had.
I hope my 20-year-old kids are hearing you right now.
Oh, well, Sarah, can you make sure
We'll send it to them. Yeah, I'll send them a special version for them.
And we are going to talk. I'd like to talk about leadership and, of course, what you're doing with NeuroLeadership. Maybe even touch on AI. But like, if we could dial it back and maybe start at the beginning, and how did you even end up in work comp? Like,
oh my goodness. So my story is it's a story of determination, I would say, because when I graduated from college, I went into the mortgage industry, and that was great for about I say 10 years. I think it was only like 6, but 6 or 8. In 2006, my family and I decided we wanted something different. I grew up in Southeast Georgia and was driving to Jacksonville, Florida every day. And my husband at the time was driving up to Brunswick, Georgia every day. And so it was just like a 50-mile commute. There's not a lot of industry in the Southeast and general business in the Southeast. So, and I wanted something different. And so we decided to move to Denver. We came out and visited, loved it, and moved out here. And when that happened, it was 2006. I worked for 1 full year at Wells Fargo. And as you can imagine, everybody's portfolio during that time took it down because all of those B and C mortgages that we had underwritten the previous years were getting mixed with those A papers, and portfolios were falling and banks were losing their minds. And so a lot of industry shut down. And so the whole operation closed at Wells Fargo. And I was really kind of like, I've only been here a year. I have my kids and my job. I don't know anybody. So I decided it was finally time to meet my neighbors and see if they worked inside of their home. And so from the South, so I baked some cookies and I went to my neighbor's house, and my neighbor directly to my right was, her name's Leilani Flynn. She still works at Travelers today. And I was like, hey, do you work outside your home? And she was like, yeah, I work for Travelers. I was like, well, are you guys hiring by any chance?
oh, wow, you're brave.
I was desperate. Like, my kids needed to eat, right? So I was like, we got to get a job. And she was. And they were hiring people without experience because they wanted to train people up their way. And I was like, great. And I start going into like my educational background. And I said, I studied work comp when I was getting my master's degree. And now I look back and I'm like, that's the stupidest statement anybody could ever make, because that theoretical degree about work comp and its history has nothing to do with
nothing. Well, but maybe
it's a good foundation.
You.
Right. So that's where I quickly learned theory and practicality are 2 different things, right? So, and here I am 18 years later, 20 years later, I guess, and still doing work comp. And I love it for very, very many reasons. But yeah.
Oh, we love hearing that you still love it for very many reasons.
Yes, I'm sure we'll hit on some of those today.
It's there's so many people in this industry that sort of happened into it, whether by chance or by hunger. You're hungry. Just
well, I'll be honest. It was, when I was looking for a job outside of the mortgage industry, I'm in my young 30s at this point, right? And I was not super well established financially, and really it was about the money. I mean, when you're a young mom and you have a family to take care of, whether you have a spouse or not, 2 incomes is required a lot of times. And my drive was taking care of my children, and I have this like innate fear of failure. So whatever I do, I want to do well. Not because I'm going to let anybody else down, but because of myself. Like, I want to do well. And I do believe in failing forward, by the way. So that's a whole nother topic. So I'm not I'm afraid of failing ultimately. Like little failures don't mean failure to me. That means I learned a lesson, we're going to move on. But not having an income, to me, that's a big failure. And that wasn't a possibility for me. And so once I, found a job that paid comparable to what I was making as an underwriter, I took it. I was like, I can learn this. If I can underwrite mortgages, I can underwrite them during low rate times. I can do this, and took it on with a vengeance because I had to pay the bills.
There's such drive, and not only because I know you are very driven, and you mentioned you're hardest on yourself. I agree. I think we are our own worst critics. When the rest of the world will look at you and say, girl, you are doing just fine.
Yeah.
We tend to push ourselves anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that drive, failing forward, Sarah, I saw you take a note, failing forward. That could be the title of your book, Shari.
It really could be, if only you knew how many failing forwards I've had in my life, right? I am probably the queen of understanding how to fail forward. And it's a skill you learn over time. It's something that you take on. You realize, oh, I failed at this. This grand idea didn't work. And really, my family even was saying, hey, you don't move to Denver. What are you going to do there? You don't have any family out there. I was not going to let that failure happen, right? And so, but when I do learn, it was a fail forward moment. My operation shut down. In which I'm like, okay, that's not my fault. I get it, but it still was a bad choice to move out here with the mortgage industry. And then I'm like, oh, no. I'm going to find a new career. I'm getting out of this mortgage ups and downs. And when I did, I call that a fail forward. And it was fantastic. And there are so many more examples of that. We could be here like for days talking about my failures forward.
But I like that. I think failing forward is what builds a leader, because you learn from your experience and now you learn how to share that with others, which is a great segue, because in the work comp industry and what we do, you've really carved out a niche where you are a leader. You think, you perform at next level. And was there something early on in your career that kind of started to feed that more and more? Were you at Travelers, did we say?
I was. Okay. I was at Travelers for 5 years and Gallagher Bassett for 3, and then I've been at CorVel for 12 now. So, you know what, that it is, I have an innate drive to succeed. I think, and success means something different to different people. And I want to make sure that that's out there, because
that's true.
My success isn't what your success looks like, and it isn't what an artist's success would look like, right? We all have different versions of success. Plus, if you're really happy just working one particular job and getting enough money so you can go skiing every weekend, that's success. So success, and especially when you're in your young 20s, success is defined by where you are in that moment and maybe where you want to be tomorrow. But really, there's no one true form of success. And so I don't want people listening to this thinking my path is what's successful or your path is what's successful. It's what you define as important in your life and where you want to be and the goals that you've designed for yourself. And if they are just going skiing every weekend, cheers to that, right? Cheers. So absolutely.
Well, and I think you're touching a little bit on that NeuroLeadership piece that I really want to learn more about from you. Mm-hmm. But with success, and Sarah and I were talking about this actually the other day, it's so easy for people to compare themselves to what other people are doing, especially in our social media world. It's like, well, that looks successful. That doesn't look like me. So where do people find that confidence?
Your first question was, where did I start getting this drive for leadership and to get into this path? In my 20s, when I graduated from college, I graduated with a degree in Spanish. Definitely.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect and I got a C. So let's just put that out there too. So I can speak C-level Spanish after I got out of college. Now I can't because I don't use those words, and it's a jumbled mess. So after working for a few years, I decided I wanted to get a master's degree. And this is one, again, where my parents, in particular, they're like, why do you need to spend that money on that degree? You know, they're second generation Americans. Like their parents were born here, but their aunts and uncles were born in Italy and Poland. So they really were raised by foreigners. And so they didn't understand. They were just really proud. I graduated high school and college, and I wanted more. I knew I needed something functional in my life. And so I decided to get this master's degree. And I didn't realize this, but love organizational leadership. And I kind of read about it, and I got that degree in that back in 2005. And remember, I didn't really start using that degree until 2014 when I started at CorVel. So I had just been interested in it, and I knew I needed to gain experience. And this is something I really hope everybody understands, is that you can't just walk out with a degree and expect to be using it right away. There's this thing
amen.
called experience.
Amen.
Experience is necessary to lead people. And so it's great that we all went to school and got these great degrees that look really good on paper, but you better get a job that pays the bills and gives you some introduction to skills, or you're never going to go forward. And so you're going to be stuck with this degree with, you know, MA or.
Yeah, the skills that you're learning may not even be what you went to school for, and that's okay.
No. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. And I always tell people as they're getting out of school, get a job, get a job, get a job, get any job, get a job. And I don't care if your parents are paying for your livelihood, fine, still have self-respect, get a job. If you don't need the money right away for some reason, get a job, because what that job is going to teach you is how to be interactive with other people, how to file, how to answer the phones, how to understand what's going on in an organization, how to sort the mail. And the reason these things are is because they lead to something else. So if you've never answered a telephone, how are you going to be a change agent for a large national call center if you don't even know what it's like to answer the phone?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you don't even know how to create a filing system for the mail, how are you going to then create a web design where you have to put files in order to make it come together? You've got to understand business, and it's got to be in a real tangible way in order to make real tangible differences.
And maybe people have the opportunity to have internships while they're in school. Mm-hmm. Sarah, did you have an experience with that when you were doing your business degree?
No, and I did when I was doing a theater degree, and then I woke up and said, what am I doing with a theater degree? That's not, and it was at DU.
Not a cheap theater degree.
No. So yeah, I don't know if it necessarily, I hate to say this, but maybe it's generational now, is that the younger generations have been brought up with more technology tools, AI even, that they're not as hungry to go out and work and learn and gain experience. They just think, oh, I could just Google it.
What I find is that there's a group of people who get degrees, and let's say it's in, I don't know, political science, let's say. And there's not a lot of political science jobs out there, right? So they really are intent on getting a job using political science because it's a topic they love. But in the meantime, because they can't find that perfect job, it paralyzes them. And instead of getting a job to try different industries, to really expand what you learned in college, right? You learned how to listen to different perspectives. You learned who you were somewhat, what your adult brain likes, right? And maybe your adult brain wasn't fully developed by the time you finished college, and now you're in a different phase of your life, and your adult brain really likes, I don't know, filing, or really likes doing nails. Whatever your adult brain likes, it likes, but you're so intent on sticking to that degree that you paid so much money for, you're not willing to try different things and just get a job and understand that there's value in every single experience we have. The value might be, oh my gosh, I absolutely hate this. I tried mortgage collections. That was my first job in the mortgage industry.
Oh, that's tough.
They were like, ma'am, you haven't collected 1 cent since you started. And I'm like, that's because they tell me these stories and they're really touching. And
I'm drawn in.
I know. Yeah.
clearly I moved on from that because I found I, one, hate call center work. Two, I will never collect a bill from somebody because I listen to their story and my empathy kind of like says, okay, pay next time. And that's not what mortgage collections is. So we moved on from that, right? But I knew never to go back to a call center situation. So I learned something and I failed forward. The next one, and I find that people aren't willing to fail forward. They're not willing to take that chance and learn what they like and learn what they don't like. And they're just fixed on what they think they love and not realizing that our brains, one, most of us are not fully developed until 25 and 28 for men. Might be even older. And your brain is not the same it was when you were 18 and started that degree, or 19. And I also don't believe you have to have a degree, first of all. So I believe that if you are willing to get out there and try different jobs, get your foot in the door, do those entry level work, you can move up. And I see it all the time in my operation. I've had people come from temp agencies who are now senior indemnity adjusters. And they start as our receptionists and they move up every role. And then I've seen people come who would come from a temp agency or come direct, who absolutely hate sitting in a chair for 8 hours. And they were like, no, this is not for me. I'm going to go be a server at Texas Roadhouse because this stinks. And that's a fail forward too, because they know they can't sit in a chair. They're probably more entrepreneurial than they are data entry. So,
and they're starting to know that about themselves. They're starting, and that's a positive thing. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think too, Shari, I think you were just describing yourself, because I believe when you were saying you started at Travelers and then went to Gallagher Bassett, you started off in those early chairs as the claims adjuster, right? And you've risen the ranks doing all the different jobs to where you are now.
Yes. So starting, yeah, definitely.
Okay. And if we could touch a little bit on claims from the work comp perspective, from then until now, what, 2006, I think you said?
7, yeah.
7 until now. Claims have become really like more complex, would you say, over that period of time? You sort of have to adjust?
They've definitely become more complex. What we look at now is we look at a lot of mental health that wasn't there when we first started. Somebody claimed a mental health claim, work-related, and we were like, unless a gun was pointed to your head, it's not mental health. It's not a mental health claim, right? And now that definition has expanded, especially in our municipality work with fire departments, police departments, our EMS workers, even call takers for EMS, dispatch kind of thing. We're also seeing a lot of presumptive issues that are expanding, especially in the municipality. We see it with the state of Colorado. We see widow benefits expanding. If you're a state widow and your spouse was in a safety sensitive position, you can now settle that work comp claim or that widow benefit out. Whereas before you couldn't, or you could actually keep that widow benefit for life. And it doesn't matter if you remarry or not. So I think that there's a lot of more complexity as the climate has changed politically, and then two, as we recognize that mental and physical health are connected, and getting those two to marry up and try to help an injured worker through that process, and not just looking at one part, but looking at the whole. That's the complexity there.
And I think tying that in with and thank you for that insight, tying that into your leadership. You start to recognize claims are complex, but now I'm in a leadership role. How am I going to help these people who are finding their adult brains? How am I going to help them understand this is the job? This is how you get through it. Here's how you can be successful. Is that where you sort of got into your NeuroLeadership interest?
Yeah, exactly. So one time I was talking to a person and they were telling me about NeuroLeadership, and I was like, what is that? And so I started really kind of digging into it. And I got this certificate from the NLI, the NeuroLeadership Institute, on just the foundations of neuroleadership. And I started recognizing, back in the day with Jack Welch, where it was just all productivity, all straight, work, work, work. There's no feelings in work. The Welchian theory, I guess, is what they might call that.
Right.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work today. And we realized that in order to get people to come along, you have to understand what they're thinking. And there are 5 components to what a person has to have in order to be successful and to feel comfortable where they are. And it's called the SCARF model. And it means scarf. Yeah. So like we're going to wear a scarf, right? We're going to put on, we have status. We all want to have our status protected. We want to know that we're important. We want to have certainty in the work that we're doing. Everybody wants to have autonomy. Everybody wants to relate to their group, and then everybody wants to be treated fairly. And when the NLI put this out, it's scarf, right?
So now, you make it sound so obvious. All of that is very true. Thank you.
It is very true. Now imagine when one of those components are threatened at your workplace, and you're now being told you did this wrong. Well, what your certainty is now threatened. Your status is now threatened. You're not being seen as competent. So the way we talk to people can either build them up or it tears them down. And when you have people that have all 5 of their scarf needs met, when they're wrapped up cozy, they're going to perform. But when something's missing, you're gonna see a decline. You're gonna see absenteeism. You're gonna see a disconnect. You're not gonna see that team clicking there. People are gonna be out for themselves, and that is the perspective I've taken, especially in the last couple of years, because recognizing that people need to feel secure in their jobs, that work is super important to our lives, and it's not optional. We have to work to pay our bills, and we really want to make it a place where people can connect. And we have a lot of empathy in what we do here. Empathy and compassion fatigue is real in claims. And there's cognitive empathy, and then there's affective empathy. And you want to keep the cognitive empathy, but you want to leave that affective empathy a little bit farther away, because that's what causes people to be drained. So if you can take a work environment and design it around these concepts, you're going to have less turnover, higher retention, you're going to have more engagement, and you're going to have a high performing team. And I really believe that SCARF model in personal and professional life is so important to uphold in people.
I have learned so much just in the last 4 minutes. I feel all the wheels turning, like if one of those letters are missing, your scarf is frayed, and people then come across as less confident and not warm and cozy. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. I want to do a deeper dive, and I know at the end of this, Sarah will put like links to information.
Sure, yeah.
Any of our listeners to follow you or learn more about your neuro leadership coaching that
Absolutely.
How valuable is that?
When it clicks, right? And so for me, for this certificate, it's a lot of paper writing, kind of like a master's degree. It's a lot of paper writing. It's like a master's course. So paper writing, research, and I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And in claims, especially, you don't know what you don't know until someone tells you don't know it. Because there's so many obscure rules and regulations that you're just like, wait, what? And when someone has to give you feedback in claims, especially the first few years, it is usually you did something wrong and here's how to correct it. Well, that feels like rejection, right? So, and I learned also that social pain is felt the same as physical pain. So in the same brain region. And so when you tell somebody they didn't do something right, and you don't say it in a way that is protecting their scarf, they feel this immense pain because you've just hurt them. You've said, I can't do anything right. That's what people hear. So you've got to protect that scarf when you give feedback. Otherwise, people are going to be, we wonder why people call out sick a lot. Well, they're being told about something. They're going to feel some real pain with it if they've done something
Their
wrong.
physical body, yes.
You're very into this, Patty. This is your mind, soul, body connection from day one since I've ever met you. So if anybody wants a nurse that gets it, it's you. But when you have that coming together, you realize, okay, I've got to be careful the way I talk to this person or give this feedback. And I always like to start, hey, this is you didn't know what you didn't know because no one told you, which is my fault. I should have found a way to tell you this, but this is what this rule means, and this is how we follow it. And you know what? It's okay. We're going to fail forward in this, and I don't even consider this a failure. This is a learn forward moment, and let's move on. And people respond better to, you didn't pay this person right. Now we're a day off, and now you have $15,000 of fines, and they're like, oh gosh, this isn't for me. And all of these concepts play into retention, attracting good talent, and maintaining that good talent.
Thank you for sharing all of that golden information. One thought that I had while we were talking, because you know how my brain works in these tangents.
Mm-hmm.
This experience of being at work, from our perspective, what we do. But then if you turn it over and you look at who we work with, our injured workers, and what they're trying to get back to, because it's so much of their day, they want to be successful, that they want to be around their social network, which is, the 8 hours, 10 hours they spend at work. They're feeling pain because they can't get back to that. Mm-hmm. So I think there's the really interesting blend with working in claims and the people who we work with. They're having almost mirrored experiences. That's just kind of what through my head.
Well, 100%. And that's why we can't, and while I know we do have a policy we have to follow in workers' comp, so we have rules and regulations, but to completely go into an injury situation with an injured employee and say that their mind, the things happening in their mind is not affecting what's happening in their body is blind. And to say that you can, when you take people out of their social situations, that pain is real. So the experiment to do this was, people are in like a fMRI scanner, and they're playing a virtual game of ball. So there's 3 people, and you're one of the people in this virtual game, and everybody's throwing the ball to each other, right? And then suddenly you start getting left out, and the other two players are throwing the ball to themselves, but you're not there. Well, your brain actually lights up in the physical pain area, and it's a social pain. So the question then became like, why does this happen? Like, why does this social pain of being left out trigger physical pain response? So think about an injured worker who's now left out of a lot of their life, including being the provider or providing social at home and being social at work. How do we delineate what's happening in the brain to what's happening in the body? And where do we kind of make that mind-body connection? And I will say there is a fantastic organization out there called Kind Souls Foundation that really takes this on. And I think you guys are part of it. I think you're doing something with their 5K maybe coming up. I think I saw that. And I actually have Andrew Bloom from Kind Souls come and talk to my Western region of adjusters. And there's a couple of reasons. This is a completely free service to injured people. It doesn't have to be from work. So it can be from cancer, from any reason they're out of work. And they provide counseling resources, physical resources, everything that's outside of our policies for workers' comp, they can kind of pick up and find resources for. So what I've done, because compassion fatigue is real in claims, I brought in Andrew to talk to over 150 adjusters today. It's actually today at noon. And he's going to come in and tell us about his program at Kind Souls. And what this does for me, and you're like, well, why do you do it, Shari? I do it because I care about people, but two, I have a group of people who are experiencing compassion fatigue. They're experiencing a situation where they can only offer so much through the policy. And then we say there's more that needs to be done, but we can't do it because the policy has limits. And so we actually give our adjusters the information to give to their injured workers and their spouses or partners on how to find more help out there. And that is what I love. And that's what this industry has needed. So I'm not advocating for maybe more rules that surround mental health in the workplace, but I am advocating for people like Andrew and Kind Souls Foundation to step in and provide that gap between real life and a policy.
And to provide that information to your team so that your team can then create the ripple effect.
Yes. And I call it empathy in action. So it lets them have the empathy that they need, the cognitive empathy, and then they don't have to take on that affective empathy. They can then share it with Andrew, and Andrew's team can take on it cognitively without being super, like, you don't want to crawl down into the dark hole with everybody, right? Because everybody would be sitting around crying together. One of us has to stay at the top of the ladder.
Keep it up. One of us has to keep
bring it up. Exactly. And that's what this programs like this do. And adjusters feel stuck a lot. We go home at the end of the day knowing we talked to that injured worker's, spouse who was crying on the phone. And what can we do for them? Nothing. The policy limits us. So part of the burnout that adjusters feel is because they don't have a way to put this empathy into action. And so then they just start taking on that affective empathy. And then they start feeling sad. They start feeling overwhelmed. And they start listening, oh, I want to do more, but we can't do more because we are bound by policies. But we can do more. We can give it to that next person. We can walk that mile in their shoes and then hand the shoes to the next person who can take them the next mile so that hopefully they can be given their shoes back to where.
I love all your analogies. I have so many. Yes.
Sorry, my wind is blowing.
You're an excellent speaker and you're an excellent leader. And it comes in your words because
I appreciate you, Patty.
I feel like a student. I love it. I love it. I love it. We've touched on so many topics. We've touched on claims, NeuroLeadership, the experience, empathy. We didn't get to touch on AI, and that's, I don't know how to do the segue. Maybe you can help me, Sarah. It's something along the lines of we're working with people and people's feelings and people's energy fields, and all of a sudden we're introducing tech. So where's the blend? Question. Sarah, what are you thought? What are your thoughts?
I like that. I want to know where the blend is.
Okay. The blend. Where does the blend come from? Right.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
So
how do we turn on the mixer, so to say? Right. So, remember the scarf model I was telling you about? Well, AI brings about a 5-alarm fire in that scarf model. Every single it is. You just better get that fire extinguisher out because it is a 5-alarm fire for us as human beings. Because all of that is threatened: our status, our certainty, our fairness, our autonomy, our relatedness. It's all threatened. So these tools that we're introducing are extremely helpful. But one part that we have to take on better as humans is implementation of them and understanding what they're for and how we keep that human in the loop. And because no matter what, we are relational people. And, two things I heard Simon Sinek say on a podcast just yesterday about AI. He was like, two things are going to happen. Either we're going to have a mass increase in mental health issues because we're going to just die off due to lack of human interaction if we embrace AI the way that some people think we will take over the world, because we are naturally social beings, and we need to have that human in the loop in almost everything we do. Or we're going to be extremely productive and we're going to do more in the same amount of time. So one of those two things are going to happen, right? I choose for number two that I said. I think we're going to be able to do more in the same amount of time. I see it happening now. At CorVel, we have really good integration with file summaries. So when we take over a file, we no longer have to spend hours and hours reading pages and pages of notes. We can ask AI to summarize these key pieces of information, and it pops up a summary, and it helps us move forward faster and with more accuracy. We no longer have to spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes retyping a dictation out because two systems don't speak to each other. It will summarize a dictation, even handwritten notes, into our claim files. Our claim files are more complete, which gives better transparency to all parties active in a claim situation. AI will give us better predictions, or it gives us good predictions. But we still have to have that human in the loop in everything, because AI will read something and maybe it read the check mark wrong. Like I saw a file one time in test production where the medical record, it had a list, checklist, and it was like, check this if you have these things. And it read it as like these things are what the person had without a check mark. And it looked like the person had every communicable disease out there, and they didn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to watch it. You have to be careful. We have to teach a new skill. And if we could please make sure this gets into the podcast, the new skill is editing. The skill is you've got to read something and make sure it makes sense, and make sure that the human is able to edit properly what they know is true. And so that note or that function or whatever you're trying to get out of AI is accurate. And editing is a totally different skill than creating. Because when I create a note from a medical record, I'm reading it, I'm comprehending it as I'm typing it or dictating it. When I edit it, I have to put on a whole different hat. And there are ways to teach editing skills. And we've really got to get that editing skill out there, especially when it comes to written words that we're trying to use AI for.
I agree with you. At mine at our end, with our utilization of our AI tools, the editing piece, you were talking about what we call hallucinate, that the AI will extrapolate, and not that it's necessarily wrong. It's only programmed what we've told it to do. So if we don't tell it what to do, like don't include XYZ, that's why that editing piece has to be utilized by the human, because you have to catch what you didn't tell AI to do correctly, I think.
Well, and they even have jobs now. I saw a job post the other day for AI, basically people that teach AI. They edit what the AI response is, and then they give it and say, no, this was wrong. You still need humans even to teach AI what to do.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So we're all on the same page about that, which makes me feel very happy. And I'm not surprised about it, because we are kind of aligned in so many ways. It's just getting the word out there so that people aren't stressed out about AI. It's a tool. It's going to be incorporated. We still love you. We're going to, help you with your scarf. We're still going to do all those things, but we have to introduce this new tool carefully.
The other thing I want people to really start thinking about is what you put in is what you get out, right? So you have to understand how to give directions. And that's another skill that a lot of us lack or need to develop. And all these are skills that can be developed. So, that old game you probably played in middle school where the teacher brings in bread and peanut butter and jelly, and you have to give each other directions on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And someone says, hey, put the peanut butter on the side.
No, but I want to do this now with my team.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun.
I'm going to do this.
It's fun if you haven't ever done this. And this is a way to teach how to do AI prompts too. So you have peanut butter and you say, put the peanut butter on one side of the bread. So someone turns the bread up like this and puts it along the crust, because that's what you said. You said put it on the side of
the bread, right?
And instead of putting it on like the lateral side of the bread or whatever, however specifically you want to call it. So you have to be very specific in your direction. So playing the peanut butter and jelly game is a really good example of how to teach people what you put in is what you get out, and that you have to be very specific in your directions so that you are actually getting what you want. Because AI will read it and I'll be like, I'll put my prompts in and I'll be like, oh no, that's not what I meant. Sorry. I meant calculate the total of sum of column 12 plus column 13 and then average it. And then I get what I want. But I probably said add them together and give me what I want. And I didn't know what I want. So you have to know how to do directions. And that's the other piece of this AI factor. People are like, oh, AI is not working for me. Well, that's because you didn't tell it something meaningful. So,
yeah, and I know Sherry's going to be speaking at a conference about this very thing. So I feel so lucky that we're getting a sneak peek about probably.
oh, thanks. Yeah.
Presentation. Yes.
I'll be speaking at Elevate on AI. And then I also, just Elevate this year.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Well, yeah. Well,
I'm also talking there about motivation. So I have two sessions at Elevate in September. So if you can come, I hope you'll be there. It's going to be a great conference.
I know a couple of our team was actually, I shared that with our team, and a couple of people were like, yeah, I think we should go. I think we
gotta stay at the Hotel Del Coronado, right? I mean,
beautiful. I've been there a couple times. It's just,
I'm so excited. I've never been to San Diego, so I'm really excited about this.
This has been so informative for me, and I can't tell you enough, Shari, how much we've appreciated you coming on. And I know we're going to start to wrap it up. But there's this question that we usually ask, because people who are in work comp have seen a lot, done a lot, know a lot, and they may want to take a magic wand, a magic work comp wand. And so if there were something that you could do with this magic work comp wand to either change the industry or move it forward in a more positive way, is there one thing that stands out to you? And I know it's a big question. I should probably prepped you on this one.
No. I think it's a great question. The one I would put out there is that insurance in general and claims is a very good, rewarding, and it can be lucrative industry to get into. And that it's not a happenstance. It doesn't have to be a happenstance. And it's not a second choice. It actually is a job that requires a lot of skills. We work with attorneys, we work with doctors, we work with applicants' attorneys, defense attorneys, we work with nurses, we work with risk managers of very large corporations, we work in finance, we work in psychology, we work in NeuroLeadership, we work in motivation. We're maestros of an orchestra of people that kind of come together to help one injured worker who had the worst day of his or her entire life. And we work together to bring them back to as good as we can be. Why wouldn't you want to do that work? It's philanthropic work with money. I mean, let's just be real. And so if you are looking for a career, I literally hate when I see things online that say, escape the claims desk or escape, insurance. Like, why? It has been so rewarding for me on so many levels, and you and other people I know we got to get it out there. My wand would say this is a career of choice, and get out there and try it out, because the smartest people do this job. It takes a lot of talent, a lot of dedication, and you really make a difference in the lives of so many people. That's why I would change.
I just have chills. That is a wrap right there.
That is what I would change about this industry. Give it a good rep. Give people someplace to go, and make it not a second choice or a third choice. Make it your first choice.
Yeah, it's a career of choice. Thank you, Shari. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sarah, anything?
Thank you for having me. This was really fun. And Sarah, it's good to get to know you a little bit and your perspective on things. And I always say, protect your scarf in every relationship. It's not just a business thing. If you think about it, when you're talking to your partner, you're talking to your kids, you're talking to your friends, that scarf model really is the foundation of good relationships and helping people feel valued and cared for and respected. So
I've been out of the learning mode, Shari, for, because I do what I do, right? And learning something new, like what you're sharing with the SCARF model. There have been times in my life when things have really spoken to me. And I specifically remember learning shared decision making, when I learned motivational interviewing, again, things that you learn not just in your work life, but you can apply everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the SCARF model is the next thing. I mean, chills up and down my arms. It's very.
I love it. Yeah, no, definitely. It's funny because I have a website. Let's see if I have one of those things. I do. Hold on one second.
Is it your website? Because whatever you want Sarah to put in the linked episode or link down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I have a website. It's a thought site. I don't actually coach people. It's a leadership coaching site, but I don't take on clients. It is really
could, though. Maybe you could.
I could, but I love what I do. I coach the people I work with all the time. But what I have this little purse scarf. And I don't think you can actually see it right now. Maybe
a little bit, yeah.
Cute, yeah.
The purse scarf, and it has Starkey Leadership on it down at the bottom. And I have it because it reminds me of the SCARF model. And I really think that's the foundation to a lot of what we do. And at my website, there's articles, there's videos. Hopefully, we'll post your podcast there, and get that to my NetRN. And what I like about it is it gives me an outlet to put my leadership thoughts out. It hopefully drives people to think about things a little bit differently. My passion for educating and being a self-leader is really what that site is about, leading yourself first to lead others later. And like I said, my little logo is a scarf. So there you go.
I'm going to go. Yeah. So that's the other piece, Sarah, that if there's a specific bio that Shari, you want us to read in our intro, because
do you want me to write one for you for this, or would that be easier?
What do you think, Sarah? Yeah.
If you want, if there's just little points you want us to make sure that we touch on.
If you if you'd rather surprise me, there is a wealth of information and about Shari on my blog. So you can also look there. What would you prefer?
I can certainly do that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There is some information in my blogs. There's one that kind of goes about my history. And so what you can pull out, whatever you need to pull out there. There's also, I think I posted, Carlos Luna and I did a podcast, and that one's more about how I kind of went from single mom to all these other things that I've done. So you can definitely pull out some stuff there.
Oh, wow. This is good.
You find there, it's public knowledge. So you pull out what you want to pull out and make it yours. So I'm good with that.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you. Shari. All right.
Thank you for having me. Cheers. This was really nice.
Cheers. And have fun with Andrew. That'll be great.
Oh, yeah. I will. I'm so glad you guys are involved in Kind Souls Foundation, because it really is a very good organization. So.
Okay, enjoy your day, ladies.
Bye, friends.
Bye.
Sarah! Wow.
That was amazing, right?
Wow. That blew me away, really.
SCARF is going to change my life.
I know.
It is. That was such an incredible conversation. It's just that leadership is so much more than a title. It's about everything we do every day, right? And it was just, it makes me think about how I'm leading myself, how I'm supporting my team, and whether I'm being intentional about it and have my goal set and where I'm going. She's so inspirational. Wow, that was really great.
And I think she had an effect on both of us, and I know she will on our listeners too, because everybody needs that little spark to feel inspired, to invest a little bit more time in yourself, give yourself grace, and remember that sometimes leadership starts way before anybody gives you a title.
Yeah.
Your energy presents you as you walk into a room, even without a title. So thanks so much for spending time with us today, everybody. And if you enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to share it with a friend or a coworker, or maybe even a fellow leader who could use some inspiration. I know Sarah will put all of the connections below, all the socials and all the ways to get a hold of us at Work Comp Over Wine. So until next time, keep just showing up for yourself and for others. And cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.